Hello legends, and welcome to Blunt Force Healing podcast. This recording is for episode 319, which I will post it likely tomorrow, because today's episode is already uploaded, but I didn't want to lose that opportunity to record some video update and little memory of that short trip and a power hike, as I call them, to Meensheefin Forest, which is not even marked on all trails. Let me just show you something very quickly. These lovely fungi are not quite popular, I must say, but in Ireland can be found very close to the roads. What's amazing about them, I don't think they are edible, but they have another very interesting and lovely feature, is that they change colors from that bright yellow that you could see between a lovely sunset orange to greens, different greens, very bright greens, and they can even be I think reddish in color. So a lot of strong colors that they can have between or within single species. So it's very interesting mushroom. Anyway, so going back to the update, this trail, I would say, forest trail, we already been here with my wife and Julian. It was obviously worse weather conditions, and we were on a slightly shorter hike. But today I decided to use the opportunity and last couple of hours of the daylight to get here myself. I asked Julian if he wants to join. He was on the, I would say, side of slight confusion and indecision, and eventually decided to stay, do his exercises, and stay with my wife at home. So here I am, progressing myself in the form of a power hike. So what I call power hikes are usually the kind of standard outdoors forest walks that I just do in usually in rush, meaning very fast. A lot of fungi here, mushrooms, but not the ones that I'm looking for. So they are not only kind of speed hikes, but depending on the trail, they are either fast walks or fast approaches on the peaks. And by fast approaches, I mean they are usually not simply following the regular trails to the peak, but sometimes cutting corners and going really wild. So if possible, to shorten the route to the very peak and get there as fast as possible, within reason obviously. But this is what I call power hikes. Usually they are driven by either the short amount of time that I have left of the day, because it's never a good idea to hike at night or after dark, so it's better to complete the hike, or at least be in the middle of return on the safe side before the sunset, or actually before the darkness comes, because from the sunset to darkness there is usually a little bit of time in between. so you don't have to really be back in the car or in your start place or whatever end of your route at the sunset or by the sunset. You can go as the darkness approaches. So in my scenario, it depends obviously on the time of the year. Another big one, but not my type. Oh, somebody's shoe. Interesting. I didn't know that there are actually people here sometimes. It's good to know. We never met anyone here, so, well, never. We were once here, and I'm second time, and I'm not expecting to meet anyone here anyway. It's not a very popular route or close to any amenities or towns. It's really in the middle of nowhere. I think this area is called Petigo Plateau, which is a very rural, barely occupied area with a lot of lakes and woodlands and boglands. So, something I like. Yeah, but going back to power hikes, sometimes, if it's a approach on a peak, I try to go as fast as possible. Even if the route is steep, I try to approach it and get to the peak in the shortest time possible to have plenty of time on the way back, even though the way back is usually slightly faster. If you fall down, then it's really fast. Yeah, jokes aside, when it's better to have more time on the way back than lose your time on the way in and then end up in a very bad scenario where you're short on time when returning. So these are usually power hikes. They are very often driven by the short length of the daylight or the daytime in winter months. In the summer months, they are usually they happen because I do them after work, for example, where I have only a couple of hours left. So I need to drive to the place, then do the hike and complete it. So yeah, this is about power hikes. I'll show you lovely fungi. They are not bracket fungi, they are actually they are poisonous. There are very similar ones from the same family, or how they call it, not the genre but genera. They are very similar, easy to get them wrong if you don't look into details, but ones are really nice, tasty and edible. The other ones can end your journey on this planet, so you need to be very careful with them. Yes, a lot of people are scared of mushrooms. There's that mushroom phobia somehow in people's heads. I think it's cultural mostly, and people kind of only, if they collect only the mushrooms that they've learned from elders, and they never question the fact that they can collect much more. I've been in that culture. I've learned to collect specific types of mushrooms and was always warned and be on the cautious side to not collect anything else and just stick to what I know. And that's a good and safe approach for all of us. But I think if we want to grow in life, we need to also educate ourselves. And believe me, there's a lot of cool stuff out there. A lot of cool stuff that we are not taught about, and we have to educate ourselves. So this is what I started doing in recent years. That's why I talk a lot about mushrooms, because they became a fascination of mine. If you still have time and want to listen the rest of this update, let me continue why I like the mushrooms and the whole kingdom of mushrooms. First of all, yes, it is kingdom. So as you probably know, you learned it in school. We usually were taught about two kingdoms. That there are two kingdoms, plants and animals, right? Well, wrong, because there's a third kingdom, which is fungi. They used to be treated as plants or part of plants kingdom a long time ago. Education system didn't really catch up properly yet, but some time ago, pretty long time ago, fungi have been considered and extracted from other kingdoms, and they were given separate kingdom because not only they deserve it, but there is very interesting fact that most people don't know about. We, human beings, animals, come from the same branch that fungi. So you can say that mushrooms are our cousins, in a very distant cousins, but regardless, we come from the same very old branch before we got split into different kingdoms. So that's something you probably didn't know. I'm not sure how worthy that knowledge is to you, but I wanted to share that because it might be a nice conversation winner in the chats with friends when you talk about different weird things. Other than that, fungi and mushrooms in general have become a very focused area of science in recent decades, and especially in the last 1 or 2 decades, where the interest really blew up, because it turns out that they can help us in many problems that we are facing these days. One of them is pollution and recycling. That is a big, unfortunate big lie. We are told that if we sort things, they can recycle them properly. Well, unfortunately, truth is a little bit further from the truth. So the fact is that we have very little technology that can actually recycle things like plastic. So to some extent we can reuse it or recycle partially, but it's very far from what it is kind of propagated across the media and different producers and governments. Yeah, recycling in general is shite. It's not helping as much as some people might think, because we still have no technology that would allow us to properly recycle even a bigger part or bigger chunk of our trash, rubbish, whatever you call it. So what is the solution? Turns out fungi are. So there are species of mushrooms that can completely decompose very hard plastics and different synthetically created materials that we cannot with even the most advanced technology. Fungi can not only do it, but can do it in a reasonable time span that is measured in years rather than thousands of years. So forgive me if I'm too excited, but that's a significant difference of 100x speed up of recycling, and a big hope for that. Another big hope is, as you probably heard, in the supplements space. Not only fungi can deliver a lot of interesting nutritional benefits to us and help us balance and support our brains and bodies, but a lot of recent studies and research already found a very promising impact of fungi, specific fungi, on cancer research and cancer battling, because we are told that cancer is a sickness, while cancer is more of a condition. Of course it is. We can't diminish it and say that cancer isn't something dangerous. It is. It's probably more dangerous than most of actual sicknesses, but it's still qualified as sickness while it's a condition, in that our body is actually starting to be antagonistic against itself. So the cancer is not necessarily sickness, because sickness usually goes by damaging stuff, and cancer doesn't really damage until it really spread out and becomes so impactful on our system that there is damage. The big difference between most of the sicknesses and the actual cancers is that they can be reversed, and we can be regenerated to the point where we can get rid not only of the cancer, but our body can return to the balance and be healthy. So that's a big difference. And unfortunately, people that manage to get success over the last, I would say, half century in treating cancer in the way that conventional medicine does, in a different way than conventional medicine does, were very often called charlatans. And yeah, I understand it, because there is a lot of charlatans that actually are very much liars, and they use some lies to earn money on people. But if you look close and start reading the research and seeing the actual results, and also take under consideration that there were those people that were actually quite legitimate, didn't get a dime for it. They were making everything possible to not earn money on people, but rather asked governments to start funding phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 research to get FDA approved in the US and other regions, by the other bodies. They were using government money, and despite being a private sector, sometimes you might think like, well, isn't that wrong? No, it isn't. We still pay taxes, right? If we can get research from our own money, but do not add up to the pot from our daily lives, why not? And especially if there are results. So yeah, cancer can be reversed in many cases, and we have so many stories that prove that. People that live till this day, while they were given a couple of months chances, they are many years okay and no return of the cancer. So there is a way, and our body is quite powerful. Nature has remedies. We unfortunately don't know yet which remedies work, and not every remedy will work for everyone, but still it's worth pursuing. What I'll do now, apologies, I will cut that off because I am at the junction and I'm pretty sure I know where I should go, but I want to double check if this way is a proper way to where I want to get. And for that I need to turn off the phone and check the maps. So I'll wrap up now. This is a beautiful evening. I hope you have a pleasant day and afternoon or evening, wherever you are. And thank you very much. I appreciate you listening to me, walking alone here. So it's always to have, even if virtual, companions. And while you're not live with me, it still feels like somebody's on the other side. That makes sense to create that content. So once again, thank you very much. I hope to see you in the next episode and the next episode afterwards. For now, stay safe and take care of yourselves, and see you tomorrow.